Hello and welcome everybody to Ready Prep OET. I'm Alex from OET Education. My colleague Rebecca, that you all know, is here too. We are your hosts for today's fantastic preparation session. We are both here in rainy Melbourne and we have our All Stars with us from all over the world. So tell us, those of you in the chat, where are you? Let us know in the chat, where are you at the moment? What city or what country? Just type into the chat. We can see it coming through. Thanks, everybody, and welcome. Just some housekeeping before we begin. If you have any audio or technical problems, just leave the session, close the browser, and come back with the same link. If you want to ask a question, please do. Just use the chat box, write your question during any presentation, and we will make sure that our presenters or we will answer it during the session.
So I was muted. This is our third year of running these online candidate events, and this year is definitely our biggest yet, with 2 days of unique content featuring your favorite All-Stars and the always popular Kahoot Quiz with free prizes for the winners. Alex and I will also be sharing some of our own top tips for preparation on each day, so you won't want to miss any of it.
Yep, sounds great. And we hope you can stay for the whole session. If you can't, we will be sending a copy of the recording before the end of the week, so don't worry too much. If you have not registered for tomorrow's session, the link is in the chat now. You do need to register for tomorrow's session, which is completely different. And trust us, you don't want to miss it.
That's right. And before we get into today's event, we want to celebrate with you some of the successes OET has had on your behalf so far in 2022. You've probably heard the good news already. We've had a lot of new recognition, especially in North America. Doctors can now register to work in Canada, and the number of states recognizing OET results for nurses is growing and likely to speed up even more now that CGFNS have recognized OET results for immigration purposes.
Yeah, we know there are a lot of nurses excited about the CGFNS news. It's huge. And in the preparation space, we are also working hard to make sure you have the materials that you need, including our regular live free prep sessions, just like this one with our All-Star teachers on our official OET Facebook and YouTube channels every week.
Exactly. And today's event is called Ready Prep OET, and it's recalling the instructions athletes are given at the start of a race. And what you will hear from our presenters today that you can see on the screen is how the middle part of this instruction, Ready Prep OET, is that preparation is really powerful. As healthcare professionals, of course, you're already well aware of the concept of good preparation, making sure you have the patient's notes and history in front of you when talking to them, bringing the right tools with you when you are about to provide care for the patient. You wouldn't want to be partway through your procedure and realize you don't have something you need.
That would be very awkward. And the same is true of the preparation you do before OET. And this means learning about the test, improving any weak areas of language that you have, right up to packing your bag for test day. Doing all this preparation means that on test day, your confidence will be high and you will be set for success.
Exactly. And in today's event, you're going to hear from 5 All-Star favorites, all sharing their experience of preparing candidates just like you, and perhaps some of you specifically already, and how getting your preparation right will make all the difference to your OET test.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're well. To be honest, I'm used to doing classes where people can speak back to me. So it's a bit strange doing it to a silent room, but nice to see you all. I don't know if I recognize any names in the chat box. Nilani, I think I recognize your name. Hello, nice to see you. I'm based in Manchester, which is in the northwest of England. And it's a lovely day. As Rebecca said, we've had a really nice summer. So what I'm here today to talk to you about is how we can provide structure and use organizing techniques in speaking. Okay, now the reason why I've chosen this topic is because I think it's one of the things in OET speaking that can really make a difference. It's something that people don't often do naturally at the beginning when they first start, but I think it's something that if you learn to do it, it becomes a natural part of the way that you speak. And I think not only will it make you really good at your speaking in the exam, but it will also help in the future. I am definitely seeing a few names that I recognize. Fazal, hello. Hi, Tatiana. Good to see you. Hello. Okay, so, and Manpreet. Hello, Manpreet. So, organizing techniques. If you study OET speaking, then what you'll see is that you've got different criteria, and those criteria are made up of small indicators. And it's by proving that you can do those indicators that you will get a good score. Okay, that's how it works. Now, what we do in our classes is we try and focus on some of those indicators, and we'll focus on them at the beginning of the week, and then you can do them through the week and practice. So what I want to talk about is this organizing techniques. Okay, and these are the contents here. Why use the organizing techniques? And then we've got the three techniques. We've got menu technique. That's what we call it, the menu technique. Categorization and labeling. They're two phrases that come from the OET criteria. And then we'll have a quick chat about using your 3-minute prep time as well. Okay, so organizing information is an essential aspect of presenting your information clearly. Now, what we find at SET is that teaching people to speak well in the exam is really similar to trying to train teachers. And what we learned when we were learning to teach is really similar to what you guys are learning to try and explain to patients. So that's the same thing, really. You know, you have to take your time, you have to make it into small chunks, and you have to make sure that people understand. Now, a part of that is organizing things, okay? Organizing it, not just saying it in any order, okay? Not rushing through it, making sure that it's organized. And one of those ways of organizing is making sure that the person you're speaking to knows what you're going to talk about next. Okay, so it's not just important in real life and in all situations where you explain things and where you manage conversations, but of course it's so important to do for doing well in OET speaking as well. Okay, so it's common for patients to be worried or confused. I don't know if you guys can remember what that's like, but I know what it's like. If I feel a bit worried or if I feel confused, I want to know where this conversation's going. I don't want to be surprised at the end of it. I want to be told, I want to be given the light in the darkness. Okay. There are different sections that appear in the speaking. So when you're speaking to someone, you'll have an initiation, and then you'll go through some symptoms possibly, and then you'll go through some lifestyle or background information. Well, if you tell people that you're going from those section to section, it helps, okay? And I know from my own personal experience, I feel supported. And I also feel like the person knows what they're doing. If the conversation is just bouncing around, okay, then I feel a bit confused and I don't feel confident in this person. But if they tell me this is going to happen, that's going to happen, I feel like they are organized and they know what they're doing. Okay. And also other situations where it might be useful, such as handovers, they can be complicated. You might have to talk about what someone needs to eat, their sleeping position, what kind of medication they're on, maybe something else is a problem. So you need to make it clear when you're speaking to these people or speaking to anyone or doing a handover that you are clear, this bit's finished, now we're on to this bit. So that's the kind of the rationale, the reason for it. What I'll tell you about now is what we at SET English, we call it the menu technique. And the reason why we call this technique the menu technique is because the idea is that when you go into a restaurant, you tell the waiter what you want. Okay. You tell them what you want. You say, I want this, and then I want that. And then your time in the restaurant is not a surprise. If they come and bring you something completely different, you say, look, I didn't order this. We're talking about making sure that you've got control over the conversation. Okay, so the menu technique is very simple, but people don't often do it. Okay, so the first thing you do, you identify 2 upcoming items in the speaking. So if we look at these ones a little bit closer, okay, here it says, give a possible diagnosis, and underneath it says, stress the importance of rest. Okay, so that's 2 things that you can see in this speaking task. Now, it doesn't have to be only these 2. The beauty of this technique is that you can use it anytime you like. You can use it at the beginning. Today, I'd like to do this, boom, boom, boom. Or you can choose later on, but you can always do it. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so we've got give possible diagnosis, and we've got stress importance of rest. Look at this sentence. First, I would like to discuss what I think the diagnosis is, and then we can have a chat about managing it. Is that okay? All right. This is really, really useful. Look at that phrase. First, I would like to discuss what I think the diagnosis is. So that's that diagnosis. If we go back, give possible diagnosis, and then we're going to talk about stress the importance of rest. And then we can have a chat about managing it. So let's look at that phrase in red there. This is a phrase that you can use anytime, okay, when you're trying to do this menu technique. And I think what happens is it doesn't feel natural for people at the beginning. And then they start to use it and they start to think, well, I can't live without this. It's really good, not just for the patient, but also for you. It helps you get control and know what's coming next. Now, this is not the only phrase. Obviously, there are many different ways of doing it. Okay, so let's have a look at a few more. So why don't we have a look at this before discussing that? Okay, this could be, why don't we have a look at your symptoms before discussing treatment? Okay, let's start by going through your lifestyle, and then we can discuss maybe doing some exercises. All of these phrases are really useful for this. Okay, just practice these, and I promise that you'll feel a sense of structure in your writing. So this is the menu technique. And of course, guys, you can have a copy of this later on if you want to. Okay, now the other thing I just want to go back and show you in this here. If you remember, right at the end here, I put, is that okay? Now, isn't that a lovely thing to put at the end, where you're encouraging that patient to share how they feel about it? I think the thing with speaking techniques is that you never really do any of them alone. You always do them with other techniques folded in as well. And I think a technique like this really gives you the chance to gain control and to feel relaxed. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the next technique. Next technique is categorization. Now, this sounds like a really, really simple idea, really. If you think of the word that you know inside of that word, the word that you know inside of that word is the word category. Okay, if you don't know the word category, category means a particular type. Okay, categories of TV program. Okay, you can have action, you can have thriller, you can have drama, you can have romance, comedy. They are different categories. Well, if you think of the different ideas that you have to express in OET speaking, you can have different tasks on that cue card, or inside of a task, maybe where you have to express, you have to ask questions maybe about different symptoms, maybe intensity, duration, and then what else could we do? We could do location. Well, you might start with, I'd like to talk about the intensity first. Okay. Or you might say, well, why don't we have a chat about this? Okay. You're moving from place to place. Okay. You've got to make it clear to the listener that you're moving from this topic to that one. And again, there are an infinite number of phrases that you can use to say this, but I've got a few here for us to do. Okay, so it's just saying exactly what you want to change the subject to. Okay, now someone posted a question and then it's disappeared, but I think the question said, is this for nurses or doctors? It's for everybody, guys. It's for anyone. Okay, it's not just for nurses, it's not just for doctors. Everybody has to make sure that the conversation is organized well. Okay, so that's a really simple example, isn't it? For example, okay, now I'd like to speak to you about your diet. It's clear what we're trying to talk to them about is their diet. We're not hiding behind anything. We don't just say, now, what's your diet like? We're not doing that. It's now I'd like to speak to you about your diet. That makes it really clear what we're going to talk about next. Okay. Here are a few other examples, but just like with the menu technique, okay, and the labeling that I'll talk about in a few minutes, it's amazing how many people do not do it. Okay, they don't do it. I think it's because people don't understand exactly what's in the criteria. You should learn that, or at least go to a school that can teach you about it and then practice these things. When people join our school and they see some of the experienced students, I think sometimes they think, wow, I could never do that. But that's not true. If you actually listen to what they're saying is basically filled with things that were techniques a couple of months ago, but now are natural skills that they show. And I think that that's the case for everybody. You learn these techniques and they become natural for you. Okay, so let's move on to easy. Okay, let's move on to this. Okay, why don't we discuss? Something I'd like to discuss is, oops, let's go back. All of these phrases here are phrases that you can use to introduce a new topic. To say, we finished that one, now we're going on to this one. Let's move on to your diet. Why don't we discuss your treatment? Something I'd like to discuss is the amount of exercise you've been doing. Okay, easy ways to make it clear to the patient and to the examiner what you're moving on to and what the topic now is. Okay, so that's categorization. We've done menu technique and now we've just done categorization. Next, I'd like to talk about labeling. Labeling is one of these nice techniques hidden away in, I think it's active organization inside the speaking criteria. And it's a really good one. Again, it's so easy to do. Labeling is basically making sure that you label something inside of your speaking as important. Okay, now sometimes this is shown clearly in the task. I'll show you an example here. Stress the importance. Well, in that case, it's really easy to see where you should be stressing importance. And I think if anybody reads this, stress the importance of, I think what 90% of people would do is they would say, I'd like to just stress the importance of rest from exercise. And you'd say it exactly the same way. And that would be okay. You get a tick in the box. But I think that there are tasks where this is not obvious. And that doesn't mean that you don't have the opportunity to do it. You can do it anytime you like. In real life, when you're talking to patients, you don't have a cue card. You just decide what you think is important. And you can do that anytime in the OET speaking exam as well. So even if it doesn't say stress the importance of rest, there are phrases that you can use to make sure that you think something is important and make sure that the patient remembers it. We often talk about it in our classes. What happens if somebody doesn't pick up something that you've told them? They don't realize it's important. Well, the consequences could be extremely serious. It could be really serious. Or the consequences could just be that you have to go and explain it again. which is a waste of your time because you're all busy people. So use labeling to make sure that people know what's important. Okay, here's one. It's important to remember that. Okay, it's important to remember that you should rest for at least 4 weeks. Look at some other examples. It's vital to do something. Okay, it's really important to please make sure that you. Okay, these are simple phrases. In fact, all of these techniques that we discussed today are simple ideas that you might not already know about. Just learn about these simple ideas. Try and put them into your speaking just one by one. Don't do it. Don't try and do all of them at the same time. Just do one by one. Today, you can practice the menu technique. Tomorrow, the menu technique will be good. And then you can decide, I'm going to do some categorization today. And then you get that right. And then the day after, you do some labeling. Okay, they all become natural techniques. 3-minute prep time is an important aspect of OET speaking. And this is where I think that you should take your knowledge, what you've practiced, all of your skills and your techniques. This is where you should be applying them. For me, I don't know about you, but I get a bit nervous when I'm doing a speaking exam or something like this. And it's nice for me to have a visual guide, a visual aid. That's what this is. Okay, I've got a visual guide in front of me with this PowerPoint, and that's great. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to remember this. Now, when you're in the exam, you have this cue card. So in those 3 minutes preparation time, you can make some notes and make sure that you can do the things that you want to do. For instance, we talked about the menu technique. Well, you might say, okay, here's my menu technique. I'm going to do, first of all, I'd like to find out more details, and then I'd like to go through a possible diagnosis. Okay, or then we can talk about what it might be. Okay, why don't we have a chat about the details? Why don't we have a chat about your symptoms? And then we can go through a possible diagnosis. Then we can have a chat about that idea of telling the person, this is what we'll do first, and this is what we'll do next. You just make sure that you make a note. And there are other notes that you can make in your 3-minute prep time as well. Of course, we talked earlier on about labeling. You can do some labeling there as well. A couple of questions there. Sinju, no, you don't have to complete every task. You don't have to. You just have to make sure that in your 5 minutes, you're managing a really good, well-organized conversation and that it's patient-centered. Okay? So your 3-minute prep time can be used to do lots of things. That's quite a good length of time. We've talked in classes about you can use this as a way to think about how you're going to ask people for information, how you're going to give people information. You can make notes on your card as well. Okay? So I think that's it really. Okay? Just to summarize, organizing techniques provides clarity for structure and clarity for patients. Okay? Patients need that. Your co-workers need that as well. Okay? When you first start using them, they feel a bit unnatural because you don't normally do them. But the more you use them, the better you get at using them, and they become natural. Use your 3-minute preparation period to make sure that you identify when you can use them. Just a quick look down, it might say menu, and you think, okay, I'm going to use that now. And find a partner to practice these with. Doesn't matter who it is. They don't have to be a nurse or a doctor or the same as you. It could be anybody. You just have to be their patient. Okay, just to finish then, I'm Paul and I'm a teacher at SET English, and we do all kinds of OET courses, different lengths of time and different packages and access to our learning platform. So if you want to come and get some feedback, or if you've got some questions, just let us know. You can come and find us here, which is www.set-english.com. Or you can come find us on Facebook as well. We do regular things like correct this sentence and stuff. So I think you'll get something most days that's interesting to have a look at. So I think that's it for me. I assume that I'm around about on time there.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Yeah.
All right.
That was fantastic. Thank you. That was great. Thanks. So it's so important, to use those organizing techniques that Paul mentioned, not just part of the OET speaking criteria, but really effective to create a sense of trust and confidence in a healthcare professional, as he mentioned. And thank you to Paul also making the point about the importance of knowing the speaking criteria, which assessors use for all candidates, doctors, nurses, pharmacists, podiatrists, everybody has the same speaking criteria. So you do really need to know it. And Rebecca and I are going to talk more about that later in today's session. Our second presentation for today is Sabreet from Khaira Education. And Sabreet is going to talk about the resources that you can rely on for your OET preparation. Hi, Sabreet. Over to you.
Hi, can you hear me, Rebecca?
We can.
Alex,
Yes,
sorry.
We can.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Thank you, Alex. Great. Hello, everyone. I'm Sabreet from Khaira Education. We are based in various cities of Northern India, and we provide both online and offline courses for OET preparation. When it comes to preparation for the test, there are multiple things that we consider. And my presentation today is mostly focusing on the resources that you can go to when it comes to your preparation for the test. Apart from resources, there are certain other factors that we consider when it comes to preparation for the test. The first factor that most of us consider is the time to prepare. Time includes the best time of, the best part of the year when you are, available for the test. You will, because OET is, the preparation of OET requires your efforts, your time, and a lot. It is quite demanding sometimes. So it's very important that you know that for you to know the time when you will be available for the test. By that, I also mean the duration that you require in order to prepare for the test. And for this, it is best that you first get your English language proficiency tested, which is both done by OET through OET Pulse, as well as all the premium preparation providers provide this test. So it's better to first take this test to check your language level, and accordingly get the guidance from the providers as well as OET on how much time would you require to prepare for the test and the skills that would require your attention. Coming to the resources that you need to prepare from, that is what we are going to discuss in detail today. Now, OET is a very popular test among healthcare professionals, and given its acceptance by so many organizations and the boards, it is very important to understand that along with it being popular, there are many resources that have come into market. There are many providers who are providing preparation, but all of them are not genuine, and we cannot just go to any and every resource, be it a book or a provider, to get prepared for the test. So it's very important to choose the best so that your time, your energy, and your money is saved. And finally, it's important to know the requirements and the criteria that your destination country or the regulating board that you want to work for has. By that, I mean the score that they are expecting. And for this, the information is mostly available on the website of all these regulating boards. For example, if you want to go to the UK, NHS has the official website, and very clearly, they have the information about the score that they need from nurses, from doctors, and all the healthcare professionals for each of the subtests. So it's very important that you consider these three things when you sit down and you decide that you make that decision that, okay, I'm now going to prepare for the test. Talking about the resources, why is it so important to choose from the resources? Why are not all resources good resources? And why, the more the resources, the better the preparation is what usually we think, but that's not the case, because there are many resources which are genuine and you can rely upon them, while some of the resources in the market that are available, they have those red flags that you need to consider, and you should not be attracted to them. So my presentation is going to give you details about what these reliable resources are and how can you identify what's a good resource and what's a resource that you need to depend on. So when it comes to reliable resources, these are resources which are recommended by OET. You'll get information about this on their official website, their YouTube channels, and the Facebook page that they have. And then there are resources that are provided by premium preparation providers. Now, premium preparation providers are providers which are endorsed by OET itself. Again, you can find information about them on their website. And when it comes to the resources that these providers provide, these are all authentic resources, and you can find them on their YouTube channels and the websites of the providers, as just Paul told us about the website for SET and their Facebook page. So similarly, all providers have such presence online, so you can get the information there. And when you are preparing for the test, you need to keep in mind that whatever resource, whatever book, test, or skill you are learning, it should adhere to the format of OET test. And when it comes to unreliable resources, what actually makes them, what are the red signals that you need to be careful about? First, you cannot rely upon any and every random YouTube video or a blog that you read or any pamphlet that you come across which imparts information about OET. You'll have to check whether it's genuine. And for that, you'll have to see if it is endorsed by OET or any of the providers, the premium providers. And then you need to be aware of the schools that make fake promises like you can crack the test in the first attempt or pass OET in 1 week. We all know that, we all have our individual needs when it comes to preparation. So we need to be very careful, and we need to know if, everyone cannot prepare for the test for a week, and we all know our abilities. So you'll have to be careful about such fake promises being made, and only use authentic material when it comes to the practice. And for that, I'll tell you on how and where you can find the authentic sources. So what actually makes a resource bad, or what actually makes a resource unreliable, and how do we know that we should not be going to such source? First of all, inauthenticity. By that, I mean that when you're sitting to practice a test, you need to see if that test actually is, adheres to the format of OET. By that, I mean the text types in, for example, in reading and listening, the question types, the types of questions that you get, and the format of the test. It should be similar to what you will get on the test date. And how do we know that whether this test is authentic or not? For this, you can go to the preparation portal of OET. On their official website, you have many free sample tests. So you can download that test and compare that test with the test that you are practicing. And if it does not match or have similarity with the test that OET has on their website, then that is the test that you should not be practicing. Because rather than making and doing any good for you, it will lead to something in a different direction, and it would you would be wasting your time on such a practice. And then there are schools and providers that give you partial knowledge, or sometimes we have half knowledge of a situation and of a situation, or we have half knowledge of a subtest and we start preparing for it. So it's better to get complete knowledge and go to people, go to resources, or go to providers who provide complete information about the format, the skills, and the test itself. And then misleading information. So a very interesting point that many of my students come to me with is that, ma'am, last time there was this test and it was pretty easy. So reading, if it was easy last time, I think for this month, the test is going to be difficult. I don't know how and why this information is being circulated all around us, but we need to be very careful about the information being given to us. We should not be reliant on any such information being given to us, and we should check with reliable resources if that's true or not. And then comes the factor of dependence on templates. you must have heard it at some point in your life during your preparation, if you've already started it, that many of the providers, they promise that if you use these 4 phrases in your writing subtest, you'll pass the test. Or this is the organization that you can use in every letter to pass the test. I'm sorry, but that does not happen, because every situation is different. Every set of case notes are different. And so you should be very careful about not relying on a fixed template or a fixed way of approaching towards the test. You should be considering various because there are various situations that are there in your speaking subtest when you're interacting with the patient. All patients are not demanding the same information from you. Similarly, you cannot impart that information in the same manner to all your patients. Yes, there are certain things that can be similar in all the role play cards and that can help you in preparing, but adhering to one template is a big no. And then some of the providers do not focus at all on the skills. And many of my students also come to me and they say that, ma'am, we only want to practice the test because we know the language. And I think if we practice, we would be able to ace the test. Yes, practice would help you in qualifying the test. But along with practice, it is very important that we consider the skills that are needed and putting those skills into through that practice. I mean, only language and the practice of the test or knowledge of the format of the test is not enough when it comes to OET. You need to learn some skills, and putting those skills into practice is what can help you. And here are some examples of resources that you need to be careful about. So any social media platform which promises you to give feedback for your writing and speaking samples, I mean, the feedback that they would provide would be general, would not be individual to your practice. So it's important to find out a provider who can give you feedback for your writing and your speaking, and just not a general feedback, because if something applies to somebody else's performance, does not imply to you. Coming to these exam introspection videos on YouTube. So OET does not distribute their test papers. That means that if you took the test last month, only you know what questions were there in the test. OET has not distributed those tests to its providers. So it's very, and then sometimes you see that just after the day of the test, or probably a week or a month after it, you see these videos which come up on YouTube, and they promise to tell you on what was there in the last question paper and how was it to be attempted. So these are all false these are all false. This is all false information being imparted to you, and you need to be very careful not to fall into this trap. And be very careful on not indulging into the posts, tips, strategies that are given by any unofficial provider that is not endorsed by OET. Along with this, when you're, as we discussed earlier, whenever you are practicing the test, it's very important that the test that you're practicing should conform to the current format of the test. And for that, you can download the sample papers from OET's website and compare your practice test with that test. And if it adheres to the test that is available on OET's website, and it's similar to that, then yes, you should go ahead with the practice. Any blogs or posts that encourage stock phrases, for example, one organization for your writing, or here is a crash course for 7 days which can help you in passing the test, or crack the exam in the first go. So whenever you hear these phrases, you should just run away from such places and not indulge anymore, because that would waste your energy and time, and many a times your money as well. And it's better always, as I suggested, so get yourself evaluate, get your language proficiency, English language proficiency evaluated. And once you get to know the level of language you are at, get guidance on how you should move ahead from there. How should you be preparing? What are the factors that you need to consider first? Is there improvement needed in your language? If yes, then we should start there first. I mean, improving the language and then taking up the skills in practice. So these were the factors that I discussed that you need to be careful on not considering and being away from. Now let's see what is a good resource. There must be something good outside in the market where you can go and get information about. So yeah, we should get authentic material either provided by OET or any of their premium preparation providers. Or if you have any piece of material that's not from these two sources, compare it with the samples on the website. Always practice the skills and the lessons that are promoted. I mean, the lessons that you should be relying upon or the tests that you should be practicing, they should all adhere to the guidelines of OET. You should get complete and useful information. And thanks to the internet, we have all the information available on the official website of OET, as well as all its premium preparation providers. Along with practice, I would suggest you should get hold of a provider who also helps you to get the skills that you need in order to prepare. And please do not rely upon shortcuts and templates, and anyone who encourages such things, you should just run away from them. So here are some examples for you to look at. So the sources that you need to go to. Number one, OET's preparation portal. Now this is a place where you can get most of your information. You'll get sample tests and they're all free. You can download them, practice them. There are master classes for all the 4 subtests. You have Start to Success course, and in this course you have lessons on skills, you have the practice tests. Then we have OET Pulse. It is a 30-minute test which helps you assess your language proficiency, English language proficiency, and accordingly also guides you on what type of course or how much time you should be spending on your preparation. And then we have OET Ready, another course that OET offers. And along with the skills, lessons, and practice, they also provide feedback for the writing and speaking samples that you write. Along with the preparation portal, you also have OET's YouTube channel and Facebook page. On all these, on YouTube and Facebook, you have the All-Star lessons that are being conducted regularly, along with Rebecca's question and answer sessions. And along with this, any new update, if there is there in the test, you can get information about that too. And then we have OET blogs. And again, OET blogs, along with preparing you for the tests and improving your English language proficiency. These blogs also keep you updated about the latest changes that are happening around. And then you have OET's premium preparation providers. Again, the list is available on OET's official website. These providers have their own official websites, YouTube channels, and many of them are available on Facebook and Instagram as well. So you should go to these sources and get information, material, and sessions from them. And then there are certain books that OET recommends. The number is quite long, but then I have some on my screen. If you want more information on these books, or if you want to buy them, you have the links available again on OET's bookshop. You can just click on a link, get these books, and along with these books, you have a number of other books available on the website. And then finally, there are some resources that the trainers at Khaira Education are using, and they have been quite helpful for our students, which I would like to share with you. So the first one is GP Behind Closed Doors. Now, this is a YouTube channel which usually has small clippings of consultations between a patient and a healthcare professional. So this actually helps in improving your listening for part A, and obviously you're having communication with the patient in your speaking session. So that also improves with this. Then we have Calgary Cambridge Guide. Now this helps in learning the step-by-step, and it gives step-by-step instruction on in what kind of a situation, what is the way that a healthcare professional should be interacting, and it covers many of the communication criteria that we have for OET's assessment. You have here covered in this Calgary Cambridge Guide, so it's quite helpful for speaking again. Then you have University of Nottingham's YouTube channel. On this channel, you have some very good videos on the interaction between a healthcare professional and a patient, and along with the information on how you can have a good interaction with the patient. It also has some examples on what you should not be doing while you're interacting with the patient. So you have good and bad examples both. So again, a good channel to go to. And finally, we have ABC podcasts. These podcasts are again freely available. On all these sources that I'm talking about are free and they're available. And ABC podcast is again free and it's available on YouTube. Its YouTube channel has free videos, and these can be used actually to improve listening, because most of these are related to the development in healthcare setting. And I can see some questions popping up for reading. So for reading, OET on their preparation portal has a list of articles that you should be reading. These can help you in improving your reading skills. And all these articles are, again, based on the development that's happening in the healthcare situations and the healthcare area. So yes, you can go to these. The link is, again, these are easily available on OET's official website. You just have to go to the preparation portal, you click on reading, and you easily get the link to all these articles. So to summarize, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that yes, when you're preparing, you should be consulting various resources, but all the resources that you are struggling, that you are going to, should be reliable. By that, I mean they should be genuine. You should not be wasting your time, your money, and energy on resources that are not genuine, and rather than bringing you closer to your test score, your desired test score, they might be taking you away from there. So be very wise and think well when you're deciding the resources that you want to choose from. All the very best for your preparation. Thank you for being patient and for listening to me. And I can see some questions. Okay, so just a second, Alex, if I could just answer a few questions. They're saying they're having difficulty in preparing for reading and listening. So yes, for listening, the more you listen to these podcasts that are available online, the more you'll be familiar with the content. And for reading, the more you read the different types of texts that are there in reading part A, B, C, especially part C, you can get the texts very easily. You can go to any medical the journals and articles that are available online. If you read them, I'm sure your reading skills would improve. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sabreet. And Sabreet will be online for a little more time. If you have questions, please keep putting them in the chat box, and she will be able to scroll up and answer in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Thank you, Sabreet, for that presentation. It's really great advice to just be aware of materials that are not genuine. And thank you for also mentioning templates. Assessors are so disappointed when they see templates being used. They are not effective. They will not help you meet the criteria. And this is why we're so happy to have this session today with All Stars like Khaira Education. The teachers here in today's sessions really know the tests and really make high quality courses and resources. So thank you, Sabreet.
So welcome back, everyone, and I hope I didn't keep you waiting for long. So what I'm going to discuss today would be on how prepared you are to work in an English-speaking country. It's a question, actually, and I really want to know, your level of preparedness. And whatever I'm going to discuss today would be connected with OET, particularly the speaking part of OET, but also it goes beyond the OET test and it goes into your workplace in countries where you would like to work, whether it's in the UK or Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Canada, America. So that's exactly what I want to discuss with you. And to begin with, I've got something from a recent study which shows that insufficient information is given to patients about their condition and treatment, and that their misconceptions are not being dispelled. So this is something which I sometimes come across in the OET speaking subtest as well. But more elaborately, this is a global problem, and a number of studies have pointed out that this is a huge problem which has to be fixed. And my personal insight is that the OET preparation should help you to work on those aspects so that the day you start your work, you're prepared. So that's the problem. This is a huge problem. And what are the solutions? Do you have any solutions? Are you aware of the solutions? What can you bring to the table in the healthcare industry when you start working in the countries where you want to? Let me know in the chat box if you have some solutions in your mind for this problem. Hello, everyone. Good to see all of you in the chat. I'm sorry I can't read all your names. I see Alfie, Jules, Priyanka, everybody. Sure. How can this problem be solved, and how can you have the patient along with you in their journey of getting care? All right, so while I go through your reply, I just want to introduce patient-centered care. Patient-centered care focuses on the patient and the individual's particular healthcare needs. So this is something which could be new for some of you, particularly. For instance, here in India, it's not a very important idea or concept. It's not practiced as much. Now, although in my slides I'm talking about patient-centered care, globally there is a lot of shift towards something that's called person-centered care or people-centered care, and sometimes it's used interchangeably, but at the same time it has a greater meaning when you talk of person-centered care or people-centered care, because it also goes beyond the patient and also the healthcare providers. So please be aware of this shift, but sometimes we do use it interchangeably as well. And the goal of patient-centered care is to empower patients to become active participants in their care. In OET speaking, that's very important, because sometimes I find some candidates might keep on explaining and not involve the interlocutor or the patient or the carer. Now, that would also reflect later in your work. So this is something which has to be fixed, and it's very important. It's an important and integral part of your OET preparation and your transformation into becoming a thoroughbred professional ready to work in an English-speaking country. Now, looking at both patient-centered care and OET speaking, the fundamental requirement is good communication skills. And I would ask all of you to focus on developing your communication skills, because that's going to take you places and get you higher scores in OET. So your focus should not be on getting a score. And I know a lot of candidates preparing could be under stress. You find it as a stumbling block. Instead of looking at it as a stumbling block, I want you to look at the OET preparation and the test as opening doors to you, giving you a lot of opportunities. So that's what you have to focus on. Enjoy the process, and that should take all the stress away, I suppose. Now, patient-centered care and OET speaking requires the ability to address patient needs effectively. How much of the patient's needs are actually being addressed? Now, in the context of OET speaking, sometimes you may skip on some of their fundamental needs, because traditionally healthcare providers have a mindset which is a little bit patronizing and patriarchal. So it's like, I'm the health professional, I'm the expert, and I know what's good for you. You just listen to me. But the modern approach is quite different, and OET speaking, as all of you might have heard, and Sabreet did mention in her presentation as well, about the Cambridge Calgary Guide, or the Enhanced Cambridge Calgary Guide, which, along with the biomedical perspective, has got the socio-psychological perspective as well. So they go hand in hand, and this is absolutely important for you to understand this concept. Right. And finally, it's about patient advocacy. You as a healthcare professional has to stand for the patient, and that's important. So your patient may not be able to articulate or get the required care properly. So it's your responsibility to be on their side and stand for them. So that's exactly what we are going to look at today. And I've got two patients who will help us in this process. So the first patient is Chris George, aged 42, smokes cigarettes, and has been diagnosed with COPD. Let's help Chris. So I've got a question for you. Is Chris' understanding of his condition important for you? You can assume or imagine that it's an OET speaking role play. So if this is your patient, this patient's understanding of his condition, do you value that? That's my question. So here's a poll coming up for you. You can choose yes or no. Yes, bingo. Stress is a main problem, so we'll have to work on that. So you have a poll right now coming up. All right, so 93% of you, it's changing a little bit. I'll wait for a few seconds. So the poll has ended and 93% of you say that yes. And that's brilliant. I agree with you. The patient's understanding is absolutely important for you. So it is your responsibility to make sure that Krish understands his problem. So I'll explain that further with some examples. Here we go. So we're going to try and help Krish and provide him with patient-centered care. Now, this is a question from a health professional. What do you think is the problem? And then Krish could respond. Now, this question itself helps you to identify his understanding of his condition. So when you ask something like this, what do you think is the problem? You're trying to figure out whether your patient has an idea of what the problem is. And that realization will be really important as you proceed. So here's one response that he could give. It's just a cough. Give me a syrup, a cough syrup for example. All right. But here's another response. I think something's wrong. Can you look into it? So patients can respond in different ways as you have these two responses. But now what I want to look at is how you would respond to these two responses. So we'll look at both of them one by one with some examples of typical responses. Here we go. So let's look at the first response where Krish thinks it's just a cough. He needs a cough syrup and he'll be fine. All right. And then the health professional says, no, I won't give you a syrup. You have a serious problem. Now, is this a patient-centered response? Type in the chat box. Yes, you're right. Most of you did say it's no, it's rude. You can't give a response like that. How about this one? I can give you a syrup, but why do you think it's just a cough? Yes, you have guessed it. This is a better response. Now later I'll come to the statement where you say you can give a syrup. Perhaps you might not give a syrup at the end, but it's still part of that response where you try to build a positive reinforcement. So let's now look at the other response. I think something's wrong. Can you look into it? How about this one? No, nothing's wrong. Don't worry. Now, quite often I've repeated that using phrases like, don't worry, I can understand your concern, sounds very hollow. Very good. That's again not a proper response. Here we go. How about this one? I can imagine how terrible you feel. We can discuss what I think it is. Absolutely. This is the better response, the patient-centered response. And this is what I want all of you to learn and put it into practice. Thank you so much. I'm not able to catch up with the responses. It's just flowing through. All right, let's move on to the diagnosis now. This is also crucial, how you break bad news or discuss the diagnosis or the prognosis with a patient. You can't say this as well. I'm just hastening a bit because I'm running out of time. You can't say you have been diagnosed with COPD. It's better to ask something like, do you know what COPD is? Now, that's something which you find in the speaking criteria as well, checking on their existing knowledge and a number of other things. All right. Now, here's another patient, Sophie. She has been diagnosed with a prolapsed disc. Now, for a patient who has a prolapsed disc, there are different options available. You have surgical treatment options and conservative treatment options. So, how about this response? The best option, Sophie, is to have surgery done. That's not a good response. That's not a good way to say, because when there are multiple treatment options available, it's better to help the patient explore all of them. Now, there are things like shared decision-making and informed decision-making, which are crucial. So patients have got the right to know what all options they have. And oftentimes, in many parts of the world, it is denied. And that is not patient-centered care. And that's something which you have to actually imbibe and bring to practice. So I'm just sharing some key learning points. Do not be dismissive of patients' thoughts, perceptions, and concerns. And this is something that I find quite common among OET candidates. The patient says, like, I've got this problem, and you might say, oh, no, don't worry. That's not it. It's not serious. So all of that is considered being dismissive. That doesn't show proper empathy. You're not considering their ideas or concerns. So that's something that you should avoid. Trying not to do it will help you improve your speaking. And you should try to understand and incorporate their thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and concerns. I request all of you to extensively go through the assessment criteria of speaking, which you can download from the occupationalenglish.test.org website, the OET's official website. Use softer language. Don't be harsh or rude. Sometimes when you're telling them about something or asking them to do something, you could use softer language, like, I was wondering if you could do this, rather than telling you should do it, which sounds pretty rude, but it's pretty common in some parts of the world, especially like in India, where you have a huge population and healthcare professionals are not able to cope up with the demands at work. It's all right to agree on minor or harmless requests while establishing rapport. And that's what I did at the beginning when, in an example, I said, I'll give you a syrup. So it doesn't hurt to say that, and it's not a sacrosanct thing, to give a syrup or not. But it, helps a lot in establishing rapport. Right. And figuring out what the patient knows about a condition or treatment, especially while you're giving information, checking on their existing knowledge, as I've told. Right. And as we saw in Sophie's example, shared decision-making and informed decision-making, which are fundamental rights of patients. And globally, there is a lot of emphasis on these things as well. Right. So thank you for being part of this training. And if you would like to have great one-on-one trainings across the globe, please be in touch with IRS Group. And we have been proud to be a premium preparation provider, the first in South India and the second in Asia. We have been the first OET All Stars from Asia, helping thousands of candidates get the right preparation. And so finally, please remember that Krish and Sophie represent the patients you encounter in OET and in the workplace. Keep them with you. Let them be your guides as you prepare, and look through their perspective, and then keep on improving. Thank you very much for having me, and have a great success, and hats off to all of the healthcare professionals out there.
Thanks, Milen. Thank you. Another fantastic session. Thank you for sharing those tips.
You're welcome, Alex.
And person-centered care really is at the heart of OET, especially in speaking. And you shared some really great examples with us, and good reminders about not dismissing the patient's concerns and avoiding harsh language, avoiding memorized phrases. It's always better to be personal, to be authentic, not just say a phrase that you've learned. So thank you, Milen. That was a great session for everyone.
Thank you.
So Rebecca is going to join me now. Rebecca and I are your hosts. We are from OET Official, but we are also presenting today. We wanted to present a session in today's program, which we're going to do now, and we are focusing on improving your scores in OET speaking.
All right, OET speaking reflects the real healthcare workplace, as you've just heard from Milen. So the skills you develop while preparing for OET are going to help you in your career too. And in OET speaking, assessors rate your performance using the linguistic criteria and also the clinical communication criteria. And in today's 15-minute session that Alex and I are doing, we're going to focus on the clinical communication criteria, covering some common problems and solutions. Now, let's just have a quick recap, get you involved. What are the 5 clinical communication criteria? How many of them do you know? So, of course, first up, there's relationship building. But what are the other 4? You can see parts of them on the screen now. See how many you can name in the chat, and we'll give you 20 seconds to add any of the criteria you can guess or you can remember. Who is going to be up first? B is quite a long one to type. You might just want to type the missing words. We've got checking understanding. Yes, that was similar. Information gathering, definitely, that's one. And information giving, providing structure. Here they come. Very good, very good. So the others are understanding and incorporating the patient's perspective, providing structure, information gathering, and information giving. And when we speak to OET assessors, teachers within the education team where Alex and I work, looking at test data from candidates, we notice that candidates have trouble with 3 of these criteria. Which 3 do you think people tend to have trouble with? A, B, C, D, or E? Just put that into the chat. You can name 1 of them or 3 of them. Which 3 do you think candidates struggle with? Use the letter rather than typing the name. Which of those criteria do you think candidates struggle with? A, B, C, D, or E? So we've got A, B, and C, or B and C coming up quite a lot. 1 for D or E. Yeah. So quite a lot for A, actually, but a huge range coming through. So actually, the answer is B, D, and E. And we're going to look at why this is and do some activities to help you improve your performance on these 3 criteria.
Okay, so we are starting with B, which is understanding and incorporating the patient's perspective. So 2 things that we hear a lot are that candidates are not eliciting ideas, concerns, and expectations enough, and they're not exploring those ideas, concerns, expectations. And these are part of the clinical communication criteria, by the way. So let's look at what does this mean with an activity and how can we do it better. So here is part of a consultation with a healthcare professional on the left and our patient or interlocutor on the right. We're going to look at how well the healthcare professional elicits and explores. So she says, "Now, I think you're ready to start exercising again. I'd like you to go for a walk each day, just a few minutes to begin with. It's important for your recovery and also really good to help with your anxiety." Okay, so just a few minutes walking each day. Now, let's talk about your diet. Question, does she ask for the patient's input? Tell me in the chat box, yes or no. Does she invite the patient to participate in the conversation? Yes or no? Easy question to begin. And everyone's got it. The answer is no. She does not. She just delivered the information, but she didn't invite the patient to contribute his ideas, concerns, or expectations. So remember, assessors are listening to this with the criteria in front of them. So she has not done that. Let's see her next attempt. Okay, this time she says, "Now, I think you're ready to start exercising again. I'd like you to go for a walk each day, just a few minutes to begin with. It's important for your recovery and also really good to help with your anxiety. How does that sound?" He says, "I'm not sure I feel ready to walk on the street." She says, "There's nothing to worry about. Just a few minutes each day will be so good for you. Now, let's talk about your physiotherapy." Same question. Does she ask for the patient's input? Tell me in the chat, yes or no. So sample 2, does she invite a contribution? Yeah, well done. So this time, yeah, she says, "How does that sound?" So she wants to know his reaction to her suggestions. Quite simple. So she's elicited his feelings and he says, "I'm not sure I'm ready to walk on the street." So next question, does she explore the patient's input? She's elicited, he's worried. Does she explore his input? Tell me again, yes or no in the chat. And this is similar to something Milen just mentioned. So no, she hasn't explored. She just dismissed, cut him off. There's nothing to worry about. She's just dismissed that concern. She hasn't followed up. So let's see the third example. Same beginning. He says, "I'm not sure I feel ready to walk on the street." This time she says, "Okay, what worries you about walking on the street?" He says, "I just don't feel safe on my own. I'm worried I'll fall over again or something." She says, I see. You feel vulnerable walking alone. I can understand that. So how about we get someone to join you? A friend, perhaps. Same two questions again. Question 1, does she ask for input? Question 2, does she explore the input? You can probably guess the answers. We've worked our way to a very good sample here. Thanks in the chat box. You are correct. Yes, she asked for input. How does that sound? And she explored it. She said that he doesn't feel ready and she wanted to know why. So she invited him to tell her more, and now she can make another suggestion based on his input. Okay, let's get a friend to help you. So in order to demonstrate this criterion, eliciting and incorporating the patient's perspective, and in particular, eliciting and exploring the patient's ideas, concerns, expectations, make sure you focus on the patient during your consultation, invite them to contribute, and then provide meaningful responses which directly relate to their concerns.
Very good. Thanks, Alex. So let's move on to our next problematic criterion, which is information gathering. And the main problems we notice and hear about here are a lack of active listening techniques, poor questioning technique, and the use of leading and compound questions. And we're going to focus on effective questioning here today. So in the OET criteria, several types of questions are mentioned: open, closed, compound, and leading. And I want to know if you can match the question type on the left, A to D, with an example question on the right, 1 to 4. So type into the chat a letter with a number. So for example, A2, and you have 20 seconds to try and answer all 4, pair up all 4 of those question types with the example question on the right. Very good. We've got Armin suggesting B and 1. We've got A2. Some are saying A3 though. There's quite a few different ones coming through for A, which was an open question. Well, let's have a look at the answers. So the correct answers are A goes with 2, B with 3, C with 1, and D with 4. Now, when it comes to the OET speaking criteria, open and closed questioning techniques are encouraged. They're essential, in fact. But compound and leading questions should not be used. And you may be thinking, well, what are these compound and leading questions? Why should they be avoided? Well, let's have a look at them in a bit more detail. So a compound question is when more than one question is asked without allowing the patient time to answer them. And this can be very confusing for the patient. So the examples you can see on the screen are, have you ever had chest pain or felt short of breath? The patient might say no, and the doctor or nurse is left wondering, do they mean no to both or no just to the last one? It's not clear. If you're asking multiple questions, it makes it more difficult for the patient to answer. And another example, how are you coping at home? Are you keeping up with housework or finding it difficult? Again, it's difficult for the patient to know how to respond to that. And a leading question includes an assumption, your assumption in the question, and it makes it more difficult for the patient to contradict this assumption. So if you say you've lost weight, haven't you? The patient's sort of thinking, oh, well, they think I have lost weight. Do they think that's a good thing or a bad thing? And then they're trying to weigh up your assumption and make a decision which answer you're expecting. So it's something to be avoided. You haven't had any ankle swelling, another leading question, which makes it difficult for the patient to contradict. So compound and leading questions can be confusing. They can restrict responses, plus avoiding them is specifically part of the OET speaking criteria. So you really need to know what they are and work on avoiding them in your preparation. So let's check you can recognize leading and compound questions. Here's an example compound question, which is on the left column. Compound, is the pain getting better or worse? And we've got 4 more questions here. So I want you to try and put them into the right column. So again, give me a letter and a number. So if you think A and 1 goes together, as is our example, that's what you would put in the chat. All right, let's see. What do you think? Which of those are compound questions? Remember, a compound question is asking the patient more than one question at a time. And what's a leading question, which is where you're putting your assumption into the question, and the patient is then unsure how to respond. It's great, lots of engagement coming through, lots of people having a go, which is what we like to see. Excellent. So here are some suggested answers, or here are the answers, in fact. So 1, 4, and 5 are compound questions, more than one question, and 2 and 3 are leading questions. So can you change these questions into open questions, which are encouraged and part of good speaking technique? So we've got, is the pain getting better or worse? Have a think, how could you make that an open question? And the same for the second one, the leading question. How could you make that an open question? Remember, an open question is really giving the patient free range to reply in as many words as they like. So there's no closed nature to it. Let's have a look what's coming through. Yeah, we've got, can you describe your pain? Tell me about the pain. How is your pain now? That's great. And what about for the second question? Some good ideas for the first question. Yep, all really good. Can you please describe your pain? I'm just waiting to see if anyone, here we go. Khaira, it says, what are your thoughts about exercise? It's a good example for the second option. Manisha says, how often do you exercise? Yeah, great ideas. So here are some suggested answers. There were lots of great ideas coming through on the chat as well. So tell me about how the pain has been and how do you feel about exercise, which are much better questions to ask. So our tip is to practice using open and closed questioning techniques and avoid compound and leading questions in your OET roleplay.
And this brings us to our third problematic criterion. We've covered understanding and incorporating the patient's perspective, information gathering. When it comes to information giving, here, teachers and assessors identify these really common problems. Lack of pausing when giving information, not checking the patient has understood, not inviting the patient's feelings or reactions, and not checking prior knowledge. So basically too much information in one go, not enough focus on the patient and their responses. Now, for this activity, just to keep it short today, we are going to share a link to a lesson that focuses on chunking and checking when giving information. You can save this link and complete the lesson after today's session. We are going to share the link now so that you can save it in your browser or take a screenshot or use the QR code or write down the link. This lesson will help you to be better at information giving and help you to avoid those common problems that we've just mentioned. So grab the link from the chat box now. Here is our quick summary of the 3 criteria that we've identified as areas of weakness and the specific issues that we hear about from teachers and assessors. As I mentioned, each green box here is something from the speaking criteria. All of these skills are built into the OET speaking criteria. So definitely worth spending time getting to know what's in the speaking criteria. It's absolutely vital. And in almost all cases here, these problems can be solved by taking a more patient-centered approach, really listening to your patient or the interlocutor and responding in a genuine and appropriate way. And we're going to finish our session by sharing with you the OET study guide. A lot of questions have come through. How do I work on reading? How do I work on listening? Give me some resources. The OET study guide, which we're sharing as a file, contains a huge range of resources from us at OET Official and from our all-star preparation providers. There is a section all about speaking and really encourage you to explore that as well.
Great stuff. Thanks, Alex. So we're coming up now to our final two all-star presenters who are ready to go. And then it'll be time for our Kahoot quiz and prizes. So do make sure you stick around to the end. We've got some great prizes to be won. So first of all, we have Neil, who's from CELT in the UK, who's going to speak about making use of the planning time in OET writing and the speaking subtest to prepare for success. Remember, if you've got any questions you'd like to ask Neil while he's speaking, do put them into the chat and he'll be able to answer them after his presentation. So over to you, Neil. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Rebecca. Thank you, Alex, and thank you to all of you who are joining us. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending where you are in the world. My name is Neil Harris, and I work for an organisation called CELT. We're an all-star and a premium provider for nursing and also for medicine. So, as Rebecca just mentioned, what I really want to be talking about and sharing with you today within the theme of preparation is powerful, is how you can really benefit from the built-in preparation time that is available within the OET writing and speaking tests. So if we just look at the overall kind of OET test itself, you'll notice here in blue the writing and speaking tests. And the reason that they're in blue is for two reasons. Number one, it's because these are discipline specific. Reading and listening, it's the same for everyone, whereas the writing and the speaking tests relate to the 12 different versions of the test: nursing, medicine, pharmacy, and so on. But also, they also include time for preparation. And as we move on to the next slide, we'll see a little bit more about how that works. But before we do, and I think this is key, a lot of people claim to have been the first person to have said this. Many put it down to Benjamin Franklin, but whoever was the first person to say it was absolutely right. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. What does this mean for OET? How can we help you as all-stars to be more successful by showing you how to develop the skill of planning as part of your OET test preparation? Well, today I want to talk to you about three things. We're going to look at the writing subtest and how you can plan for that. We'll then look at the speaking test. And then at the end, something that's been touched on in some of the previous presentations today is this importance of thinking ahead and how you can avoid making common mistakes before your test, and how you can use overall test preparation as a way of achieving your goals. So as I move on, within this theme of preparation is powerful, let's look at constructive use of the time that's available to you in both the writing and the speaking test. We're going to begin by looking at writing. So, as I'm sure many of you will be aware, the writing test requires you to write a letter. It's based on input, case notes typically, and that the test itself lasts 45 minutes. But you'll notice here in yellow is 5 followed by 40. So in chat, what is the purpose of those first 5 minutes, how do they differ from the 40 minutes for the rest of the writing test? If you'd like to start putting your answers into chat, that would be great. Okay, I'll start looking, see any messages. So just to give you that question again, what is different about the first 5 minutes? Yes. So the first 5 minutes, Rincy comes in first, I think, 5 to read the case notes. And that was followed by Ahmed saying, and making a plan. Now let's just look at that in a little bit more detail, and thank you for the answers coming in. So in yellow in the box here at the top, you can see for the first 5 minutes, it's reading time only. But nevertheless, within that reading time, you can and you should start planning in your head. You can't use a pen, you can't use a pencil, you can't use the keyboard for a computer-based or OET at home, but you can be using this planning time that OET gives you, and therefore do use it constructively. Question is, how? Okay, so the answer to that question is going to be very similar to the answer to the question about what to do in the speaking preparation time. So let's look at speaking briefly in terms of its format. So the speaking test has a number of parts. There's an unassessed warm-up conversation, followed by 2 role plays lasting 5 minutes each. And again, they are based on input, which will be your role play card. However, before the 5 minutes for each of the role plays, you also are given 3 minutes of preparation time. And those 3 minutes can be incredibly helpful, coming back to this idea of not planning to fail, but planning to succeed. So very much like the writing test that we saw just now, you're given the planning time. So in those 3 minutes, what you should be doing is reading the case notes. You might want to make some quick notes on them. You can write on the case notes. You can continue to look at them whilst the 5 minutes of the role play is taking place. But the key point here, hi Scott, is that in those 3 minutes, you should be going through in your mind a series of structured questions that will help you to focus on what really matters. So that is what we call a task reduction, and that's what I want to look at next. So this task reduction approach, which is one that comes from OET themselves, from Rebecca and from Alex, is something that will guide you to making decisions about what to include and what to leave out in the writing. And as far as the speaking is concerned, will guide you through the different tasks, the different bullet points that you will see on your candidate card. Okay, so what is a task reduction? How can you use them? Okay, so as far as writing and speaking is concerned, and here I'm looking at the information on the left-hand side of the slide that you can see right now, that the writing case notes contain relevant as well as unnecessary redundant information. You need to decide which is relevant and pick it out. In the speaking, you are given information about the setting. It might be a suburban clinic or the emergency room of a hospital. You're given background information about your patient's situation, what's wrong with them, and then given those task points. And you need to make decisions about, are some more important than others? How do I balance my use of the 5 minutes in the role play? So this task reduction template, and we'll see some examples in just a minute, help you to do the following. In both writing and speaking, you identify key relationships. Have you met the patient before? Do you know them? Is this a follow-up consultation in your GP practice or in your room in the GP as a nurse? It'll help you in writing to decide what to include and what to leave out. And that's important for the content and the conciseness and clarity marks in writing. And in speaking, it will guide you towards, as we heard Milen say earlier, be thinking about being patient-centered and attending to what you with the patient need to discuss, rather than you just telling the patient what's going to happen. Client-centered, patient-centered care, if you like. So these task reductions do three important things. They help you to be focused on task. They set you up for success, and they help you to be successful and not fail. So let's have a look. I can see some of you are saying you've got connection problems. Rebecca, Alex, can you just pop into the green room whether this is something that you're experiencing, or it might just be something that unfortunately, Mohammed, you're facing on your own. It might be an idea to switch your speakers on and off if that helps. Sorry about that. Okay, so the writing task reduction. The important bit is what is here in bold on the left-hand side. Now, Alex will shortly be sharing with you some examples of these. However, I'm going to give you my email address, and if you are unable to download them, you can contact me and you will be able to request them via email. So the writing task reduction, bold points here, takes you through the key things that you need to be identifying in the 5 minutes of reading time in the writing test. So who is your patient, their date of birth, how old are they? Who is the letter from? Who are you? What is your role as the writer? Who are you writing to? And what are the existing relationships that exist? Is this the patient who you've known for a number of years, who has been to see you with a chronic condition and has had repeat visits? Or are you an A&E doctor or a nurse seeing a new patient on the ward for the first time? What is the patient's presenting complaint, and are there any significant issues relating to it? Some patients just don't want to see the doctor. That is relevant for the letter. Key is the purpose. And purpose really looks at two things. What is the task? What is the reason for writing the letter? But also, what is the type of letter? Typically a referral, but potentially also transfer, discharge, and then an information letter is a possibility for pharmacy. For the letter to be clear, we recommend that you establish a clear timeline. What happened and when? So that talks about including important dates so that it is clear to the reader the way in which the situation has developed. You might include social history, previous medical history, and medication detail, but that will be decided by the relationship and whether it's necessary. Plus, of course, linking in with the purpose, the future needs. What does the reader need to know? I'm just going to leave this on screen for a few seconds so that you can take a slide, you can take a print grab of this if it's helpful. Yes, this recording will be available with all the other recordings coming from OET Direct. They'll be able to confirm how you receive them, but you can also contact me for a copy of the task reduction. If we move on and we look at speaking, now you might initially look at this and think, oh goodness, there's far too much for me to take in 3 minutes. So if I just move to the next slide to simplify it for you, then what you will see is that in fact for the speaking task reduction, there are basically 4 key areas. Where is it happening? What is the setting? Again, the relationship and the nature of the patient. Who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to the patient, or to, if they're a very young child, to the parents, or to a carer. What does the background information tell you? What key information can you take away from that second part on the role play card? And then finally, in the tasks, often 4 or 5 of them. If there are just 3, you need to unpack them. You need to look at each part of each task point and decide whether how important they are. If there are 5 or 6, they'll be much shorter. So going back, and again, I'm going to pause here to give you time to take a screenshot of this. What you need to be doing, and this is why preparation is key, not just in the 3 minutes of the speaking and the 5 minutes of the writing, but also in the weeks leading up to your test, that you should be working on your skills, but also you should be getting used to practicing the role play cards. You could record them on your mobile phone so that you can listen back to yourself. And as you practice, when you listen back, listen out and decide, well, as far as the background information, did I identify if this is a new or regular patient? It affects how you start the role play. What about the age of the patient? How might this impact? And so on. All of these are directly relevant to your approach to the patient and to your ability, therefore, to provide her or him with patient-centered care. Now, what I wanted to do was not just talk to you about this, but also to give you an opportunity to practice. So on this next slide, and hopefully this will be available via the downloads, I have completed a task reduction in part for both a nursing and a medicine writing task. What you can do outside of the session today is complete it yourself. Nursing is sample test 3 and medicine is sample test 3 from the OET website. For speaking, I've done the same. I have partially completed a task reduction for nursing sample test 3 and medicine sample test 3, and I invite you to complete the rest of the incomplete, the partially completed task reduction yourselves. What you can then do, once you've accessed those, is you can, I'll put my email address again into chat, so you can access them if you're having difficulty downloading them, is that you can then contact me and ask for the answer keys. Okay, there was just too much to go through every point in the 15 minutes that we have today. Okay, so that's the task reductions. They're not template driven. They're stimuli to get you thinking about what is important in the writing and the speaking sections of the test. Let's move on and finish by thinking about what you should be doing before test day. On the left are the good things that we recommend that you do. I very often receive emails from OET candidates saying, my test is on Saturday and I'd like some lessons. It's much too late. You need to be realistic about when you book your OET test date. If you're test ready, you've maybe done the OET Pulse and you're at the C1 level, the lower advanced level that OET is, then I would suggest give yourself about a month to find out about what the test involves and become familiar with it. That's because you already have the language skills to be successful. And you can go through the various preparation points that are available from OET themselves. If your level is much lower, don't book a test, because the reality is you're not going to pass immediately. You need to get your language level up first. So if you are coming in at a B1, pre-intermediate, intermediate, or even a B2 level, upper intermediate, I really recommend you work on your language skills, including your general English skills first. But also, when you are ready for the test, make sure that you know what's going to happen on test day. Don't be one of those unlucky people who comes to the test day with ID to discover that the ID you've brought is not valid in that country. You will be given a set of guidance notes about what to expect from OET. So really strongly recommend read that carefully. And if you're working with an OET preparation provider or premium provider, you have questions, ask them and they'll be able to guide you. So what to avoid? If you want lessons, don't contact a premium provider the week before your test, because probably they won't have any spare slots to even help you. As I say, if you're test ready, give it at least a month, maybe 6 weeks. And as has already been said this morning, in many countries, there is the view that if I just practice, I will get the score I need. Sadly, you won't if your language level and your skills are not up to the test itself. So don't focus your time on just practice, but consider the All Stars classes that are available for free on the OET social channels. There is the official list of OET premium providers. Contact one of us. We would love to help you. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for the kind words that appear on in chat already. So my name is Neil. As I say, I work for CELT in Cardiff. I'm in charge of our OET courses. You've got here our website address and also my email address. Thank you very much indeed. Alex, Rebecca, back over to you. I'm not sure if there are any questions that we've not had a look at.
Thank you. Yeah, Neil will stay online for some time. So if you have questions, keep putting them in the chat and he will type his response to you while we get our next presenter. Thanks for that, Neil. Some really fantastic tips there about using your preparation time, both before the test and on test day itself, and taking a really orderly approach to the tasks.
I see. There's a point from Antonio, who I think he's preparing for the pharmacy test, and yes, he's made the point about having a set of reductions for pharmacy. Nursing and medicine typically are the ones that come first, Antonio, because the majority of candidates are doing that. You've got my email address. Why don't you contact me, and then we can have a chat and see if there's something we can do to help.
Thank you. And you can also use those task reductions, the templates for any profession as well. So thank you again, Neil. And Neil will continue to type responses to you in the chat box. We're going to bring our last presenter for today. We've got coming up now Scott from Swoosh. Scott is the last presenter, but coming up after Scott, we're going to play a quiz and we have some really awesome prizes to give away. But over to you, Scott, to talk about successful preparation. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Alex, and thanks very much, Neil, for introducing me. Hello, everyone, and thanks a lot for coming along today. Apologies for the brief video bomb in Neil's session earlier on. I'm here representing Swoosh English today. We're another OET premium preparation provider and OET All Star. Our name is Swoosh English, and we're an online provider for the OET exam. And in today's session, we're really just going to spend a bit of time kind of wrapping up a lot of the key concepts that we've spoken about today about effective preparation. But I'm going to go a little bit further and kind of focus on really the mindset and the route and the success pathway that you want to get on today for effective preparation to ensure your OET success for the OET exam. So it's going to be interactive. There's going to be a few polls. There's going to be a few questions coming in as well, just to wrap up this amazing session that we've had today. So looking forward to getting stuck in. So let's start off simply with a question, guys. There's going to be a poll released here in a second. And the question just simply is, when is your OET exam? So when this poll appears on the screen, please put in your answer within 1 month, within 3 months, within 6 months, longer than 6 months, or even unbooked, undecided. It helps me and the rest of the OET All Stars and the OET official team profile what is the typical duration for OET preparation for most candidates. I think this poll's about to finish right now, and there's a clear winner so far. The majority of you are taking the exam within 1 month, 78% of you. So last minute, I will say, for preparation. More about that to come very, very soon. But clearly, you're looking to get past the OET exam ASAP. Thank you very much, everyone. Question number 2 and poll number 2. Let us know in the chat box as well. Have you begun, in the poll when it's released, have you begun your OET preparation at this point? So poll number 2 will begin now in a second. Let us know if you have begun or you haven't at this point. So the poll should appear on the screen in a second, and let us know if you have or you haven't. So I can see already that the majority of you actually have begun your preparation at this point. 93% of you have. So you are thinking about your next steps for OET preparation at this point. That's fantastic to hear. Poll number 3, how long do you plan to prepare for your OET exam? And you can base your decision on that on some of the great advice that you've got in this session today. So hopefully you've taken on board what the OET All Stars and preparation providers are trying to recommend for successful first-time OET success. So quite a mixed bag here. The majority of you, 34%, are going to take between 1 to 3 months for OET preparation. The next highest, 31%, are around about 1 month, and then 20%, 1 to 2 weeks, and 11% longer than 3 months. 1 to 3 months, as we discussed, can be a very good length of time that you have given to your OET preparation, but really it takes as long as it takes for prep. But it's better than as soon as possible. Thank you. So next question is, how do you plan to prepare for your OET exam? Exactly what do you want to do and how do you plan to prepare at this point? We talked a lot about at this point about self-study, OET videos, YouTube cheats, templates, unverified providers, or the effectiveness of studying with an OET preparation provider and OET All-Star to guarantee successful, quicker and easier results. So let's see what you guys want to do based on that and your previous information that you might have. So we can see that the majority of you plan to enroll with an OET preparation provider. That makes me very happy to hear. 57%, 30% of you want to go down the self-study or do it myself route. About 10% want to prepare with friends or colleagues for the OET exam. Maybe you just want to do a slight mix of all of those. Thank you very much. All right, guys. So that's kind of helped me profile how a lot of you actually want to take on your OET preparation at this point. The majority of you are looking to prepare within 3 months. Your exam is coming up within 1 month or so. A lot of you want to prepare with a preparation provider. That's probably why you're here today, and that makes me happy, but a good number of you still want to self-study. So let's now analyze and wrap up. What do you need to do to prepare effectively and to achieve OET success for the exam? So this section now, I'm going to be asking for your comments in the chat box. Let's talk about the first thing that anyone needs to do in life. It's your mindset. Preparing for your OET exam, successfully passing it, and enabling that part of your pathway towards moving to the country of your dreams, the UK, the USA, Australia, Ireland, etc., is going to be a life-changing experience. An OET, of course, is a critical component in that journey. So I want to know in the chat box, do you have this desire to change your lives? Because it will. It's a fantastic experience. I first lived abroad when I was 19 years old, and I thought, wow, the ability to learn another language, interact with another culture, work in a different job, and see the world as a big place.
Oh, I think Scott's just frozen there. Scott, I don't know if you can hear me, but You were right in the middle of a really great point.
The second thing that you actually need.
Sorry, Scott. You froze. You might just want to go back to your previous slide and do that one again.
Just right here. Okay, no problem. Okay, so let's start again. Apparently there was a slight freezing on my behalf. Apologies for that. But I can see that most of you are telling me already that you do have this desire to change your lives with the appropriate mindset for the dream that you want for yourselves. So secondly, the second thing that you need is motivation. OET preparation will take up a significant chunk of your coming months for your OET exam. Sometimes a bit longer, sometimes a bit shorter. So do you have the self-control, the commitment, and that internal desire and drive to find success in your OET preparation? Let us know in the chat box if you have that as well. And I can see already a lot of you are getting involved. You do have that control, you do have that commitment, and you do want to sacrifice your time and your efforts and your energy, put your energy into this in the short term to successfully pass this exam and move on to the next steps of what you want to do. Fantastic. Now, the third thing that you need, and we've talked a lot about this today, is time. Time for effective preparation. Time to get your skills up to where they need to be for this exam. Time to pass it the first time and move on to the next steps of your pathway. So do you feel like you have enough time to commit to the process of preparing, learning, and refining your skills for OET success? Yes, you're all saying, good, that makes me happy. Remember, it's like a piece of string when it comes to OET preparation. We, the preparation providers, can give you recommendation based on your skills, your timeline, your study habits for how long it might take you for OET success and OET preparation. But we cannot say from the get-go. That's why we always recommend you do not book your OET exam first. You prepare first, get your skills assessed, and then only book the exam afterwards. Now, the fourth thing that you need are quality tools. Think about OET like building a house. You want to build your house, it's your dream. You've committed 6 months to building your house is your time. Now you need, obviously, all the building materials, your bricks, your wood, your metal, everything. Learning how to take the OET exam is a similar process, you might say. So do you have quality materials and resources to help you prove? And the other providers have talked about what is a quality resource and what isn't. So let us know in the chat box if you do. Some of you are saying yes, that's good. That's likely the ones who want to come on board with Swoosh or other OET premium preparation providers to prepare. That would constitute a quality resource and tool. But if you're thinking about going down the self-study routes, then question yourself in terms of the resources that you're getting and think about what you can do. Now, the fifth thing that you need is feedback. Now, the tools are going to inform you of your progress. They're going to give you the ability to do so. But what you will need then, of course, is feedback on how you're applying your speaking skills, how you're writing your OET letters, how you are understanding qualitative language and quantitative language in OET Reading Part C, etc., etc. Without that feedback, you don't know if you're improving. And if you don't know you're improving, then you're taking a risk when it comes to taking your OET exam. So let us know, are you getting quality feedback on all of your OET skills? And are you aware of the weaknesses that you have and how you can actually prepare yourself to overcome them? So some of you are saying, yes, that's good, that's fantastic. But some of you, of course, are saying no right now. Let's make sure that we get that in your appropriate arsenal for OET success very, very soon. Thanks a lot for the comments, guys. So I'm going to now go into what we believe at Swoosh are the do's and don'ts of OET preparation. I want to catch everyone today with the things that you should be doing and hopefully make you aware of the things that you shouldn't be doing so that in 3 months' time, when you take your OET exam, you realized, oh, I was doing those don'ts from the get-go, and really I should have listened to the advice from the OET experts today. So the first of all, we'll start off with the don'ts, the things that you shouldn't be doing for effective OET preparation. We talked about this a lot. Book the exam before you are ready. Why give yourself an artificially short period of time to take the exam, especially if you're thinking about taking it in within a month or so? What you should be doing, of course, is certifying your English language abilities to begin with to see, one, do you have the language skills ready to prepare for the exam? And if not, well, then you're going to have to go through a different preparation program to get your skills there. That's why we recommend certifying your English abilities via OET Pulse or other English language tests to see how well you would perform on the exam if you were doing it today. It gives you a benchmark, it gives you a starting point, and it allows you then to create your own appropriate timeline. Secondly, don't use templates, don't use shortcuts, don't use cheats, don't use hacks. They are disruptive, they can be actually damaging to your OET preparation, and they simply don't work in a skills-based exam. Also, don't try and figure it out all on your own, because you're all incredibly busy medical professionals, undoubtedly. You are working different shifts, you've got your lives side of things as well. You don't have probably a lot of time each day to successfully prepare. So you want to ensure that when you do prepare, you're doing it effectively. Also, don't leave your preparation to the last minute if you can avoid it. And I can see that most of you today are doing so. Try and prepare in as advance as possible to give yourself more effective preparation time, but also to make it easier for yourself and to ease any anxiety and stress that you will have with this exam. But ultimately, don't let any of this give up in your dreams. If you're already doing some of these things, let's keep that dream motivation alive and move on to the things that you should be doing instead. Now, what you should be doing, of course, is preparing as early as possible. I like the way this session today has been linked to athletes. Ready, prep, go. If you think about Olympic athletes, they're doing their preparation for their big events months or years in advance. The OET exam should be treated the exact same way. You should be ready to pass the exam in advance by preparing as effectively as early as possible. You also want to know your scores in advance to see that you actually have the language level abilities, aka a CE1 in the CEFR, plus you know the format of the OET exam incredibly well. You're passing your practice test in advance, that you know you're able to pass this exam. If you're not getting that, you're putting a blindfold on and hoping for the best on the day of your exam. You also want to ensure that you are making progress by not just undergoing practice test after practice test after practice test, but going through the learning cycle. More about that to come very, very soon. You also want to have a realistic goal and study plan. How long will it take me to prepare and pass my exam? Am I able to fulfill my learning contract to myself every day, every hour, every week, every weekend, whenever you study, and stick to that for success? You also want to stay committed, dedicated, and motivated throughout the entire process, because it is going to be stressful learning an exam, as we all know. But you want to ensure that you are doing yourself as many favors as possible in that learning process to make sure that you are making progress and in a great mindset from A to B. So also, let's talk about this learning cycle now. The learning cycle involves learning, so learning your skills, practicing your skills, of course, in formal practice, getting your skills assessed in the form of expert teacher OET feedback, and then with the information that you have learned, reflecting upon that, adjusting your approach, adjusting your practice, and then learning, practice, assessing, and adjusting again. That's why it's super important to have those tools and to have that feedback and to listen to that feedback in that learning cycle to ensure that you are consistently making improvements to get to your OET success. If any of this is missing, in particular, the adjusting section, aka the feedback, the learning cycle is broken and you probably won't be making the progress that you want to make for OET success. Now here at OET, as you can see, there's a wide community of quality OET experts institutions at your disposal. We are here to help you. We are here to get you results. We are here to save you money and time, and we're here to change your lives and fulfill your dreams. So make sure you do take advantage of learning with an OET premium preparation provider. Our success is simply your success. I mean, Swoosh have had over 22,000 passing OET students. The other institutions undoubtedly have the same. We can't do it without you. So if you trust in the learning process and in yourself with the advice that you have been given, your pathway to success should be much clearer. So I'm going to finish off this brief session now by releasing our final poll. And I want just to use this poll to reflect on not just what I've been saying today about effective OET preparation, but what all the providers have been saying today, as well as Alex and Rebecca regarding effective OET preparation. Good. You're all saying yes. Prepare as early as you can, prepare as effectively as you can, trust in the experts, get feedback, and that will be your pathway to success for OET preparation. Okay. So now think to yourself, has your preparation plan changed? Have you decided to do something differently compared to what you were doing effectively before? Good. We're all saying yes. Maybe you've reconsidered the do-it-yourself self-study route, using templates and shortcuts, using cheats and hacks, thinking you'll be ready for the OET exam within 1 week. We know this from experience that this doesn't simply work. We want to advise you as appropriately as possible and give you the most effective pathway to your OET success. So thank you very much for listening to everything that we have said today. I'll leave you with this final thought, and that is, remember, effective preparation is everything, not just for the OET exam, but everything that you do in life, but it especially applies to the principles of effective OET preparation. So thank you very much, guys. I'm going to release this handout with those points and a few extra resources at Swoosh, including our free masterclasses, if you're interested in those. So these resources are now available to download now in the file section, as well as a few other pointers for effective OET preparation as well. So make sure you download that free resource now in the file section. Maybe the OET team will follow up with this afterwards as well to get your preparation started today. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Scott. And I think you've really nailed it on the head there. You know, that it's a message all of us are trying to give candidates. We all want candidates to be successful. We love it when there are success stories. And we know it can be tempting to sort of skip that middle stage of the athletics advice, you know, just go from ready, I am a healthcare professional, to OET, I'm going to take the test. But if we think about athletes again, they will not achieve their goals. They will not achieve their dreams without those hours of preparation that they put into in the middle. And your presentation was firm but fair. It was saying, you know, don't give up on your dream, don't give up on your goal, but you're going to get there an awful lot quicker and an awful lot happier, more happily, if you put that preparation in with providers that are there to help and assist. So thank you so much for your inputs in this session today. All right, so we are on to the final part of the session. Alex, I'll leave you to explain what's coming up.
Yes, well, so many highlights, so many great presentations. Thank you to everyone for sticking with us. And you are very lucky because we are going to play a quiz, which we always do at the end of our All-Star live events. And we're going to play a game called Kahoot. I will share a link in the chat. And you can just follow the link. It will take you to another browser, or if you're on your phone looking at your computer, instructions are on the screen. Go to kahoot.it and I'll share a pin with you in a moment. Easiest thing is to follow this link. We're going to play a game. So there will be questions and you have to answer them correctly and quickly in order to win. And we've got some great prizes for our winners today, which Rebecca will talk a bit more about. But to play, to compete, follow the link on the screen, pop your name in, or if you're on your phone, go to kahoot.it and wait for the pin, which I'll put in shortly.
That's right, Alex. We've got some really good prizes. So we've got prizes for top 3 winners tonight. For second and third place winners, we have a pulse test, which you might remember Sabreet talked about earlier on this evening as a really good way to help you know what your current level of English is. So OET Pulse is the prize for second and third place winners. And for the first place winner, we have 2 physical books, so physical books that you can see on the screen, that the authors of these books, Beth McNally and Anne McKenzie, have generously given and will be shipping to the winner of the prize. And they have given us a message that they'd like us to read out to you. And they want to explain the prize and the value of this prize to you. So they said, what are these booster books? How can they help you develop your English language skills before you take OET test? So the Grammar Booster for OET Nursing, Study Booster for OET were designed to boost your confidence and communication skills by offering you many useful language practice examples and tasks related to healthcare settings. And they will support you as you become more powerful readers, clear and precise writers, and versatile and effective speakers. And the booster books build on your current knowledge of grammar and vocabulary and explore how to use those forms specifically in healthcare settings. You'll be able to read and understand workplace health documents, including case notes, emails, instructional manuals, and you'll also be able to practice writing letters of transfer, discharge, and referral, focusing on how to organize the information needed to be communicated in each letter. And you'll find plenty of role play practice, which will help you to listen carefully to patients' concerns and respond clearly with empathy. There's also review units in each book with answers, so you can check your understanding and progress at each point, and you can use to study these books independently or in a classroom. So if you're curious to find more examples to practice after doing this Kahoot, you can find the books to purchase for yourself on Amazon.com. And if you are the lucky winner, you will be receiving a copy of each book. So Beth and Anne say good luck and enjoy.
Thank you. So we've got lots of people coming into the quiz. I'll give you just a few more seconds to join. Now, if you've never played Kahoot before, look at all these people. How exciting. It's really easy to play. You'll figure it out on the first question. I've put a practice question in today. So the first question, no points. It's just to find out how to play. But as Rebecca said, some excellent prizes coming up. If you are a winner today, please take a screenshot and then we'll give you our email address and we'll arrange your prizes for you. So let's get into it. You can continue to join. Just use the chat box link. And good luck, everybody. First up, we've got our practice question. This is so you can get used to answering. The question is, what is the title of today's event? Choose red, blue, or yellow. Is it Get Ready? Is it Reach for the Stars? Or is it Ready, Prep, OET? Push the button in your browser or on your phone. Got 90, 100 answers. Well done. Only 10 seconds left. A little hint, the faster you answer, the more points you'll get. 5 seconds. Have a guess. How did we go? Oh, beautiful. 108 were correct. Today's event is called Ready, Prep, OET, but no points for that one. However, Rain, you were the fastest, so good job. Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to start with some grammar questions, which came to us from the wonderful authors of Grammar Booster and Study Booster for OET. So we're going to start by checking your grammar. Let's see how we go. Here comes our first question. Choose the best answer. When did you last have a bone mineral density test? I'm not sure. Usually at 65, every couple of years. What's the best answer here? Which one makes sense? 10 seconds. Great job. Make sure you answer. Just have a wild guess if you're not sure. Okay. So actually the correct answer was I'm not sure. If you asked when did you last have a bone density test, usually at 65 years, every couple of years, those answers don't make sense. So if you've got in the red, you're correct. We've got Omar, Jay, and Al-Marie up the top. Well done. Next question. Complete this sentence. Missing word. Staying well hydrated and resting will help you too. Go over a cold, get over a cold, get away a cold. How good is your phrasal verb knowledge? Five more seconds. Okay, beautiful. Get over and recover from. Omar holds the place and Jay, Alice in third spot. Here we go. Some of these questions are going to be a bit faster too. Only 20 seconds now. correct word form, you will be able to rehabilitation, rehabilitate, get rehabilitate at home following the surgery. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Very nice. You will be able to rehabilitate at home following the surgery. Great job. Get that 122 correct. Ooh, Jay comes to the lead. Omar and Guillaume. Okay. Another missing word. Leakage of bile into the cavity is an uncommon but possible complication. So abdominally, abdomen, abdominal. Just 5 seconds. Pretty impressed with the grammar so far. Well, look at that. Great job. 139 got this correct. Abdominal cavity is the right answer. Jay in the lead, Angelica second, and Kai third. Missing word. Oh, how quick those answers are coming through. Great job. What's missing? With, consistent to, consistent by. Consistent. What's the preposition? Very nice. Consistent with. 142 got that correct. Okay, any change? Ooh, got a really powerful top 5 happening. Just shuffling around here. Jay takes the lead. Okay, now the final 2 questions, going to make it interesting. 2 questions based on today's session, information from today's session. These questions are worth double points. So anyone can win. Here we go. Good luck. In speaking, candidates tend to score lowest in information gathering, and 2 other criteria. What are they? Rebecca and I talked about this. Remember, we went through the 3 criteria where there were very common problems. So choose 2 answers for this one. 5 more seconds. Okay. Nicely done. That's right. So understanding and incorporating the patient's perspective and information giving, those were the 3 criteria that we talked about. Have we got any change? Oh, big change. Okay. Got a brand new top 3. We have 1 final question. Same as before, double points. Anything can happen. Good luck. If you win, please take a screenshot for me. Which 2 types of questions should you avoid in OET speaking? Choose 2. 2 types of questions you should not use in OET speaking. Open, closed, compound, leading. All right, nice, quick answers. Well done, everyone. 10 seconds to go. Get ready. If you are the top 3, 1, 2, 3 on the podium, please take a photo. And let's see what we've got. Thank you to those playing along in the chat. Okay, Sana, you are number 3. Please grab a screenshot. Kai, congratulations. You fought really hard. And first place, get ready to take your screenshot. Alubumni, congratulations. You have won those fantastic books, the OET Grammar Booster for Nurses and the other book, I forgot the name, but they're both fantastic. We have them in the office. We love them. We think they are so great for OET prep. You can, of course, get your own versions if you didn't win today, but congratulations to our top 3. Please take a screenshot for us and we will be in touch. Actually, we're going to share our email with you. Let me just go back to that. Rebecca, are you there with the slides?
Yeah.
How did you go?
I was just getting a bit flustered with the speed of the questions.
Too quick.
Yeah, it was great. Very tight competition.
It was.
I think if you stop sharing your screen, we might be able to go back to the slides. Or
Yes.
Let's see. No, it's not going to do that for us. Okay, hang on. I will. Let's hope this hasn't gone back to the beginning. Oh, it has. That's it for today. We are back again tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow is completely new presentations, and I'm just going to post into chat again the registration link that you'll need. If you registered for today, it is the same link that you used before, but this time you'll obviously select that you want to attend Wednesday. So that's is coming in now. So do please register for tomorrow. We've got presentations coming up from Alicia at Banfield's Professional Medical English, Hami from WLES, Bethan from SLC. We've also got Steve from OET Online, and Helen and Judy from E2 Test Prep. Plus, Alex and I will be back with more official OET tips. So another really great day and more prizes tomorrow. So if you were just outside of the top 3 today, you can have another go at getting back into that top 3 tomorrow. So thank you so much to everybody for joining us. I think that's it for today, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. We will be back smooth as silk tomorrow night with some more great presentations. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you then.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.